Mr. Hanna.
Thank you, Pierre. Mr. Speaker, as I rise to make this contribution to this sectoral debate, I give God thanks for the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the knowledge to know the difference. I want to thank you and the parliamentary staff for the work that has been done in organizing these presentations. I want to especially thank my Prime Minister and my cabinet colleagues and my colleagues in this House, both on this side and on that side of the House, for your patience and grace and support over the many years that I've been here. I want to also thank my ministry staff, headed by my permanent secretary, Mrs. Shirley Regia-Angus, my personal staff, the various agency heads, board chairmen, and board members for their continued support, hard work, and dedication. I also want to thank the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps and other members of the Diplomatic Corps who have not only supported the ministry, but the various ministry programs and projects over the years. Mr. Speaker, my beloved Southeast St. Anne and the representatives who are here, headed by my constituency executive and Councillor Bell, my office staff, group chairman, and delegates, Mr. Chairman, Southeast St. Anne remains strong, and I'm heartened by the unwavering support given to me by both the delegates and the constituents, in spite of the efforts of a few. I just wish to place my love and undying support to the people who have placed me here for a second term. And in the constituency debate, I will speak about our projects and programs coming up. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my family, my love Richard and Alexander, for not only understanding my long hours of work, but providing me with undying love and support. Mr. Speaker, for those persons who are not here, you can tune in live to www.myc.gov.jm/connected. Mr. Speaker, May is Child Month, a month where our nation pays tribute to our children, the 809,000 or 29% of our population who are under 18. At the Ministry of Youth and Culture, every day for us is dedicated to our children. We have made significant strides in improving the state's response to children under our care, but this is really being overshadowed by a cultural problem that we've had and not spoken about for a number of years. I know that every well-thinking person in this country has been sickened, horrified, and deeply troubled by the alarming and frequent reports of cases of abuse, rape, and murder. Certainly, it is very horrifying, especially when it happens on a daily basis to the most precious assets of our country, our children. Each time I get a new report from the Child Development Agency or the Office of the Children's Registry, I hurt to my very core because I can understand the pain that the child feels. Mr. Speaker, data suggests that this culture has developed because of a number of practices, but none more glaring than the breakdown in the family structure. And I'm calling on all Jamaicans, particularly the church, teachers, and communities, to pay special attention to our children's need for guidance, mentorship, and protection. We have to move away from my picnic to a my picnic, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, at the Ministry of Youth and Culture, we are proud of the work of our children's boards, our child agencies, and specifically our children themselves. We get an average of about 220 such cases of child abuse per week. And over the past year, we've increased the number of child investigators at the CDA and cleared the number of backlogs by 4,000 reports last year. Because of the increased number of supports, we have brought on an additional 10 investigators, bringing that number of investigators up to 26. Mr. Speaker, we also increased the number of children in state care qualifying for tertiary education from 1 child in 2012 to 46 children last year. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that we've cleared the backlog of child adoption cases by 900 cases, some cases as far back as 2003. We also instituted a best practices program for the standards of care at the Maxfield Park Children's Home, which involves extracurricular activities mentorship, field trips, and certainly other activities to benefit our children, which will be rolled out into other children's homes this coming year. We increased the number of children taken into foster care by 855, and we really want to thank the 800 families who have opened up their homes to foster children. And we've put a number of systems in place now to revitalize that foster care program so that we can add more resources, because we believe that children are better off in a family setting. We've also reduced the number of children that went missing last year, Mr. Speaker, by 10%. And we're happy to report that even though missing children are still a stain on our country, Jamaica now leads the region in reports and bringing back children. And we've brought back 9 out of every 10 children who have gone missing. We introduced and implemented the first phase of the case management system, which is an electronic system that tracks a child from entry to state care to exit, and it will also make the work between the Office of the Children's Registry and the CDA a lot easier. We implemented that first phase, and the next 2 phases will be rolled out this year. What you will also see is that the reporting and managing of the mechanisms for tracking children will be a lot easier, Mr. Speaker. We also recognize that half of our children in state care, of the 4,600 children that we have in state care, need professional counseling and help. And through the engagement of counselors, clinical psychologists, and psychiatrists, we have been helping about 2,000 children with counseling, 805 of whom have been referred to clinical psychologists for help. And Mr. Speaker, this is a serious problem because we've been seeing issues coming up in ADHD, depression, we've seen predatory sexual behavior, we've seen post-traumatic stress disorder. And that program of therapeutic intervention is so necessary that we're going to bolster it, and we're going to make sure that there's a space in every single parish for therapy for children in state care so that they can get the help. Mr. Speaker, it is not an easy thing when you have an 11-year-old in your system whose father has died, and what happens to him is that his mother left him. He's been transferred 8 different times between family members, and by the time we got him, he tried to commit suicide 10 times. These are the kinds of things that we're seeing coming into state care, Mr. Speaker. And we're attacking the abuses and violence against our children through programs of education and public awareness. And we are connecting. We're going into schools. We're going into communities. Last year alone, we helped about 1,500 parents in terms of parenting seminars. And I really want to thank the CDA and the OCR. And we're going to be bolstering this program this year, Mr. Speaker, because we want to bring a closure to some of the resolutions and outstanding cases as it relates to our children. Mr. Speaker, we also published the first search and rescue protocol and conducted search and rescue trainings to over 150 volunteers island-wide. We now have a partnership with the Jamaica Library Service to assist with the dissemination of the Ananda Alert system. And that system now plugs us straight into parish libraries and to other networks through the Jamaica Library System. And I really want to thank all our partners and urge other persons to get on board. It really has assisted in returning our children home. Mr. Speaker, we have reviewed the Child Care and Protection Act and the Child Adoption Act. And we'll be presenting those aspects of the Act, of the CCPA, that are relevant to our ministry. That is the licensing of homes, the standard of care, the removal of the uncontrollable statute out of the law, to the Joint Parliamentary Committee so that we can make sure that we have the correct systems in place. I'm also happy to report to this House that of the 45 privately operated children's homes, 38 or 84% have been issued with licenses. The other 7 homes have submitted applications but have outstanding documentation to fulfill the requirements for the licensing. And they have been written to, and they've been given a deadline, and we're going to be working with them to make sure that they are able to get their standards up to speed. Mr. Speaker, when I led the delegation to Switzerland earlier this year, what was very clear was that the Committee on the Convention of the Rights of the Child admittedly said that we had made strides in terms of our children's development, and they had seen the strides that we had made as a country. What they wanted us to deal with, however, was the impact of violent environments on our children, in particular physical and sexual violence. and the things that they saw around them. Because we have to be honest with ourselves. A lot of our children are living, whether it's in domestic violence situations at school, there are aspects of violence that confront our children on a daily basis. Acts of violence against our children, Mr. Speaker, cannot be condoned. The incidents of murder, physical and sexual abuse that we have seen is really symptomatic of a society that has lost our soul. The government remains committed to using every tool at our disposal to protect our children and youth from abuse. When the rights of children are infringed, perpetrators will be punished in accordance with the law. However, Mr. Speaker, the society must come to the realization that the protection of our children is not the responsibility of any one person, ministry, or group. The protection of children is a duty of all of us. We're not a country at war. Neither do we have the kinds of conflicts that we see in some other places, but we have a problem. How does a mother know that her child is being abused and says nothing? How does a mother have an 11-year-old girl pregnant in her house and does not know? How does a community say that they suspected a child was being murdered and says nothing after the child has been murdered? And when the time comes to make the statement to the police, the community goes silent. How does someone deliberately set fire to a house knowing that 3 children are inside, Mr. Speaker? Our clinical psychologists tell me that this is a generational breakdown of the family structure in our communities. It is also symptomatic of multiple partners, a family history of mental health, the incarceration of some parents, and adverse childhood experience, just to name a few, including single parenting. Mr. Speaker, how much pick me you get, or having out your lot is not a stripe unless you can do right by your children. A mother with 6 children with 6 baby fathers, or the converse, a father with 6 baby mothers, is not proving helpful to what we're seeing coming into our state care systems and facilities, because the parents just don't have enough time to spend with the children. Mr. Speaker, every single piece of legislation is in place to protect our children. The budgets are in place, we have the sanctions, the sex offenders registry is up and running under the DCS. And our Prime Minister has even called for stronger sanctions on perpetrators who have offended children. I know that we're tempted to go for the easy fix and certainly point a finger at the scourge of poverty. And while the conditions that are bred from poverty are presented in most cases that come before us, the truth is that the answer that we seek to address these problems lie within all of us. It lies within the choices that we make as Jamaicans on a daily basis about the responsibility that we're going to take to have children. But all of this amounts to zero if parents and communities don't wake up and speak up. Burning the house after the fact is not the solution. We have made over several arrests in terms of child trafficking in this country and rescued over 20 young girls. But we cannot make a conviction because the persons are not coming forward with the statements. The time has come, Mr. Speaker, to get connected. Get connected to the truth about really what is happening and hurting our children in this country. The practice of keeping silent and not giving the evidence to convict the perpetrators who abuse them must stop. Earlier this year, I said that the Ministry of Youth and Culture has a zero-tolerance approach to those who abuse our children. And to this end, we have been spearheading with the CD, and we've put what is called a National Plan of Action for an Integrated Response to Children and Violence. The goal of the MPACV is to create and maintain a protective environment supportive of and responsive to the issues of violence, child abuse, and maltreatment of children in Jamaica. And it is going to be an integrated approach between all of us as ministries that we'll be implementing over the course of this year. Mr. Speaker, as a parent, I understand the emotional and financial sacrifices that go into having a child, and certainly in terms of being a parent. And I really want to big up all those parents who are really working hard to put their children first.